at the Treasury, and the data match would be a consistent or one-time.
We would attempt to do a data match every year, but the amount that we're asking for right now at the 22 million is for like I said, as a backlog.
Yes.
Because
Would you use the microphone, please, in case somebody happens to be listening, just in case.
the system has approximately, well, it has that much money in there from about somewhere between the 2015 all the way up till 2025.
Okay.
So when we came into this system, started using this Kelmar system in 2022, I believe it was.
That's right.
It allowed us to be able to look back and see how much of that was sitting in the system, and then allowed us to do these data matches. But of course, those cost money.
Yes.
But this would alleviate that. As you pointed out, we have probably about $40 million that comes in unclaimed property every single year.
Okay.
And we try to get that out as quickly as we can, but it takes staff and it takes money to do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for people not aware, a lot of people think the Treasury has, hundreds of people working for it. We have 35 people handling over $26 billion worth of transactions, over $160 million given out in unclaimed money in 5 years. We do a lot with a very little amount of money, and staff. We're a real big workhorse, and I like I told you in our meeting, I'm kind of biased, but I think we're the hardest working agency in the state of Mississippi.
Understand. We do appreciate the results that y'all give. Would y'all like to address each of the budgets, or how do y'all want to proceed? We got 4 of them here.
Let's do that, and I'm gonna let Teresa take it over from here.
Great.
And because she is more knowledgeable about the details y'all may have.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Do you want me to just go over it, or do you want to ask the questions, or?
If you just kind of look at the high points, where we've got a variation from the recommendations or what it is. I mean, it seems like salary progressions, PERS. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, the things with the exception of what we just discussed, just to kind of lay it out there so everybody's aware, and then we'll allow questions if anybody has any questions.
Sure. So as you said, we were asking for a little bit more in salaries with the State Personnel Board program and salaries. We're still got a few.
CC squared and all that.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We
yes.
still got a few that we're trying to get up a little bit closer to market rate. So that would assist with that. Again, the 162,000 for the data match would be for the cost of running the data match, the cost of actually putting checks in the mail and such, and then an additional position. And then the increase to the impact program and the max program are programmatic cost, as far as we have to pay the increase to the county administrator. We have to pay the increase to the auditors, the outside auditors that do those, the various little contractual responsibilities we have to maintain those programs.
Just inflationary
Yes, sir.
increases.
Yes, sir.
If you will. Okay. Thank you. With this budget, does anyone have any questions? That is the treasurer's office. The next one I've got are the investing funds. Is that where you're going next? Or-
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. That is the money that comes in. I guess Justin kind of is a little bit more in tune on that, particularly in the investing funds budget, but I don't actually have that number in front of me as to how much it's going up. Yeah, it's an estimate.
I don't see an increase straight across if I'm looking at it right.
Okay.
What we request and what we did is $150,000
Okay,
is what it is.
all right. And then the next one should
I've got
be
impact next, which you
Impact.
kind of mentioned them. I'm just kind of looking at them individually that we see.
So we
Same thing.
have the 35 million in there every year.
Right.
That is for paying, some of that transfers to the admin fund, but that's a small amount. But the majority of that was for paying tuition.
This is basically
Impacts.
spending authority so that when impact programs mature, you can write the checks for tuition as
Correct.
up to
Correct.
$35 million
Right.
in there. Okay, great. Debt service is the next one I've
Right,
got.
so Justin probably can reach on that one a little bit more. So we have the debt service fund, and then the second one that goes with that is for the debt service fees.
Yes.
And that is just based on the amount of bonds that we believe are going to be, if there's going to be any let for that year, but
Yes.
so to make the payments on those bonds and make the payments for the banking fees and arbitration fees.
And pretty straightforward. I mean, things aren't changing a lot there. I know that we've, I think collectively been doing a good job at buying down debt, and hopefully we'll continue to do that.
Yes, sir.
So, well, that's great. That's all of them. Are there any questions anyone has?
Let me add one more thing before you go into the questions, just to kind of hammer home the data match, what unclaimed money does, because it really is. I'm so proud of this department and my staff over there, because when I got there, it was one big thing on the campaign trail that people wanted to see improved, and I think we've done it. But one interesting part of the data match is one thing we can do with it, just to say how fine-tuned it can be. It's really fascinating, is that when the tornadoes hit Walthall County in southwest Mississippi last year, I think last March, I think was when about it, we were able to data match all the people in the counties that were affected. So everybody in those counties, and we were able to send out $1.3 million just to that region of the state, so that they could have a little bit of money to get their lives back on track. Now we know a natural disaster will eventually hit Mississippi at one point in time. So that is one way the Treasury can use unclaimed money and data match funds to actually help Mississippians and get them right on track.
So if I'm understanding in short, you got to pool the 20 million sitting out there. You had this situation, you geographically geocached it, if you will, and
Yep.
accelerated that for just that area, which allowed you to, help a little bit.
That's right. And I mean, going back to how little it costs to do this and the return, it's just an amazing investment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, Chairman Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Treasurer McCray. From the data match program, going back to the tornado situation in Walthall County, are you able to, through that program, able to determine where these people have moved temporarily? Is it able to pick up? And look, Senator Williams, the chairman of the subcommittee, would know this a lot better because this is more of his alley than in the high tech entry. But how does it pick up where these people have gone to be able to get them the resources they need to?
In a natural disaster, when a postman can't deliver to a post box, this happened during Katrina, especially, it automatically goes to the post office. And the post office alerts a person as well as they can that it is at the post office. And if the post office has been destroyed, it's the temporary post office. So it will go to there, and they will be notified that this money is there.
Okay, so that would, I guess the word gets out that if you have mail, money, or anything else coming in, you need to go to the temporary post office that's been set up for disaster relief.
That's
Is that right?
correct. And we will, of course, at the Treasury, do our best to notify people, whether it's through, some form of communication that exists at the time, depending on the natural disaster, what kind of natural disaster it is.
Can this program be utilized by other agencies? I'm wondering, can they, if you got, for instance, some DHS situation, I'm just going to use that one as an example where they're having a hard time locating someone. Could this data match, can it allow it to, as agencies to be utilized, do you
I'm
think?
sure it can. Fun fact, with Walter Michelle a couple of years ago, the unclaimed money now, anybody that owes child support, will not get that child support. And it will go back to the right, if someone owes unclaimed money, has unclaimed money, has child support, we will give that child support back to the rightful person who's owed that child support.
Yeah.
So we can use data. I would assume we could do that. It's an amazing program that can do so much that we do, not so much right now, but we want to expand it out. I mean, anything to get money into the people's pockets of Mississippi to help our economy, which ends up helping small businesses and everything of that nature. And it's an amazing thing.
I can think of 2 or 3 agencies that could benefit from a similar program, but I will leave it, Mr. Chairman, that maybe that's something you could dig in a little bit more on.
It's already
and-
turning.
Yeah,
Maybe,
thinking about how we can use this across agencies.
We use a company called Kelmore, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk about doing business with somebody else. Maybe we'll get a discount. All right.
Thank y'all very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
great
y'all.
day. Yes. Yes, sir. Good morning. We're just gonna move right into Veterans Affairs. If y'all are ready, we'll get started. So thank y'all for being here this morning. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. Pass them around if you want. We got them.
You're fine. We're good.
I think we're good. Thank you very much. Good. We're glad y'all here this morning. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Glad to be here this morning. Ours will be real short and real brief. As we move forward into next year. This last year, we got level funding on general funds. This year, we're asking for just a little bit of an increase for 731, which is state office, to give some pay raises. So maybe we can stabilize our workforce. We picked up the additional home now, so it's created additional work, but we haven't hired additional people. So hopefully we can get a little bump on the general funds to give these people a little bit of an increase so they will stay with us and we don't have to retrain on how magic works and how the VA system works and those type things. And we have y'all been so generous to us over the last 4 years since I've been here. We've conducted or had performed, and we've done a lot of the work ourselves on capital expense funds. So we have 3 big projects left that we talked to DFA, and they have assured us if they can get the money that they will finish these 3 projects. And it's putting a new roof on the Kosciuszko home, putting a new roof on the Collins home, and to finish the HVAC project at Collins. And they're estimating it's about $8.5 million. And if we can get those 3 projects finished with all the funds that y'all have given us over the last 4 years, that we will have completely restored and improved the infrastructure in every home.
Wow.
From the fire panels to the nurse call systems, to the boilers, to the HVAC systems, new roof on Oxford. So if you can find that money to give to DFA or to give to us and we give it back to DFA, you won't hear from us on infrastructure for a long, long time.
Congratulations. That's good because I know
Yes,
we
sir.
toured Collins 2 years ago now, and there are a lot of deficiencies y'all were working on.
Yes, sir.
So kudos to what you accomplished.
Yes, sir. We have a great maintenance department and they are very smart on what they do.
Everybody needs a MacGyver, right?
Yes, sir. And we have 2 of them that are just awesome. Next slide on the ACA penalty reimbursement. It started out at $1.13 million. And thanks to the Attorney General and her staff and Butler Snow, the contract attorneys with them, they got it down to $678,000 that we would like to get reimbursed that we've already paid to keep from having to pay that interest. We checked with Butler Snow attorneys yesterday about any additional ACA penalties, and they said they've only had 1 agency that has sent them anything. So they're not sure if they're not going to do it under the current administration in Washington or if it's coming later. But according to them, no other agency has received the 2022. This is from 2021, that they've not received anything from 2022 that needs reimbursing, except for 1 agency, and they didn't tell us which agency that was.
Okay.
So that's a good thing for the state.
Yeah.
Maybe that will go away. One of the things, just to kind of let you be aware, cost increase on the Rankin County home. We got the architect to give us an increase or a new estimate based on the Build America, Buy America Act and inflation. The initial estimate was 80 million. Now it's about 98 million. The VA has told us that they will only maximize their contribution up to $50 million, which leaves us about $18 million that we'll have to come up with. The current list has not been published yet. It was supposed to be published in October of last year, but due to the shutdown and other things, and they told us the other day that they don't have a clue when it's going to be distributed. So because the Secretary of the VA is reorganizing the VA, he just took $77 million that was allocated to the VA hospitals to put EV chargers there. he took that and said he stopped that project. He took that $77 million and gave it to cemeteries across the nation for expansions, and they're building the first ever VA cemetery in Alaska with that money, rather than put EV chargers at the hospital. So there's other monies that they're talking about allocating to different things. So we're very happy that maybe we can get some of that money to do different things with. And I think that's the reason that the construction list is being held up, because their budget is only $173 million for construction, and there's $1.8 billion worth of requests for construction.
Help me remember, I know y'all mentioned in previous meetings, the last time there was a ranking for the Rankin facility, where did we fall? We fell right out of it one time, didn't
Yes.
we?
The past 3 times. Last year, we were 7th on the list and they funded down to 6th.
Okay.
So we keep Corbin and LBO apprised of all of that, but
Now
I wanted
notice,
to let you know,
this 18 million, do we need to allocate that in order to stay on the list, or do we need to say that we're, okay?
what will happen is if we come out on the list and get the money, we will have to get with the governor's office and he'll have to send a letter that he promises that the money will be there to do that with.
Basically just a letter of credit saying we got our part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. We talked about the capital expense funds. As I said, if we can get that money, get those 3 projects done, we will be out of your hair for the next
Yes, sir.
15, 20 years on infrastructure. We and the veterans and their families thank y'all so much for all of that, because it's improved the work for our staff, because they're not called in at 2 o'clock every morning because the chiller's down and the boilers are down. So it's helped us maintain a good maintenance staff because they're not called in all the time. So there's a whole lot of benefits to that for y'all helping us do that.
Yes, sir.
We talked about the match and then talked about the funding for the,
Mhm.
and the next one, some of the things that we're doing at the homes we continue to do is the wound care for the nurses training that keeps us out of lawsuits. It's a formal training. It's a week-long training that we send our nurses to make sure that we don't get bed sores and things like that. So that's money well spent. Our costs are increasing due to inflation, just like everything else. Increased nursing costs. We're paying our nurses $35 to $45 an hour. The new state contracts that just came out for nurses, some of them are $75, $80, $90 an hour. And when we have nursing shortages because we can't hire them, then we have to pay that amount so we can make sure that we keep the status of so many nurses per resident and the things like that, and CNAs. So we're not sure where that's going. We've been able to negotiate with a couple of them down because I talked to our staff and told them that what you see on that state contract is the highest that they can charge. So we've been able to negotiate with some of them way down to make sure.
How is the nursing shortage relative to years past? I know 21, 22, it was just horrific. Have we seen some easing of that? Sounds like we're probably still not where we want to be, but.
Still not where we want to be. As a matter of fact, the director of nursing in Oxford just turned in her resignation, which really hurts us to get somebody at that level. But the reason she left is a hospice company offered her a whole lot more money than we were paying. She has a couple of teenage kids that love sports. So working for the hospice company gives her the ability to not be on call 24 hours a day.
Yes, sir.
So we're working with it every day. But our concern is with the state contracts. But most companies will negotiate with us down, and they've been really good about doing that. COVID, flu outbreaks. Since the COVID emergency has stopped, we have to pay for all the COVID expenses, the flu shots, the pneumonia shots, and all that kind of stuff. So right now, the only COVID that we have 5 residents in Oxford with COVID, but the nurses have pretty much mastered that process, and they do the isolation piece, which keeps it from spreading. Everybody wears their mask like they're supposed to. So we've done really well with that. The electronic health record systems, that cost is going up, but that's just part of what we have to keep the records of the residents. The maintenance costs, as I mentioned earlier, those are actually going down thanks to y'all giving us the money to replace that. Not only are the maintenance costs going down, but the ability to retain maintenance staff is gone way up because of that. Vehicle replacement costs, we just buy off state contract. We buy the cheapest thing that we can get Nissan Versas, and because now we're traveling from Oxford to the coast all the time. And it's cheaper for us to get those $22,000 vehicles and pay the gas than to pay the, what is it, 0.72 cents a mile now for POV mileage, and that eats up our salary. Increased VA scrutiny. The VA, when the current administration came into Washington, they stopped all VA contracts and they canceled about half of them. The other half they made to go back and renegotiate to a lower price. So we're seeing some of the fallout from that, because if I'm in business to make money and I need if I cut my cost, I got to figure out a way to recover that cost. So we're seeing a lot more scrutiny on VA surveys. And we're not sure where that's going yet, because when you're dealing with VA federal contractors instead of VA people that like it used to be, we're not sure where that's going yet. But the next page on the funds requested, we're asking just for a little bit of money to retain our staff, so we don't have to keep retraining, and just $431,000. And then capital expense funds, as we mentioned that. I do have one thing that I'd like to mention about Tradition, the new home on the coast. We've had 2 surveys. They're called recognition surveys. They're totally different than the regular surveys that we get at a home that's already been recognized. The first survey, we passed with flying colors on our side of the fence. On the VA side, zero deficiencies. We had a visitor from the food service contractor there who had a beard. Well, when the surveyor was back in the kitchen watching them prepare for the evening meal on the last day, he walks into the kitchen with no beard guard on, no hairnet on. They call that an infectious control problem. So we didn't pass. So we had another one in December. They sent a whole different crew in. And it was like it was a dumpster fire down there. And we can't figure out why. If you're perfect on this side and you continue to do the same thing, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, they come in and say, this is all messed up. This is messed up. So we're waiting on the final results from that one in December. We talked to them last Friday. We should get the results for that on this Friday. We've already fixed everything that they found. We fixed everything on the spot, but they don't let you correct stuff on the spot. They see it. In a case in point, a couple of years ago, they found some mop buckets dirty in Oxford. Well, myself, dressed like this, was out there with a pressure washer cleaning them. And we got them all clean. And I was soaking wet and it was cold. And went in and told them, here they are. They're lined up out in the parking lot. They're all perfect now. They said, we already saw it. We're going to write you up for it. So that's what we're dealing with. So if I get the letter by Friday, we've already got the request for the other survey for February. And they think that they can do it sometime in February. And we've hired people to come back on contract that have retired to help us go through every record, everything again. So hopefully we will pass. If we don't, well, last year y'all gave us $6 million. And we're spending about $427,000 a month for salaries and to keep the building open. So we're estimating at that rate, we will have probably close to $1 million of that left that we would like to get reallocated. Plus we may ask for some more. We're hoping not. And we won't ask for a lot. Nothing like the $6 million, but I just wanted to give you all a heads up that what we're dealing with the VA survey team being federal contractors, our staff has worked their behinds off. The first survey, when they came out and told them, you guys did perfect, except this one guy that wasn't even supposed to be here messed y'all up. There was not a dry eye in the room, and they were just devastated. So it's not because nobody's working or anything else. Talked to Commissioner Cheney on the last week. He sent one of his fire inspectors back down last week to go through everything again. And so we're getting a lot of support from everybody, Department of Health and everybody. So it's just part of the process.
Yes, sir.
And new homes nationwide, fail the first two. It's just part of their process. And then the third time's usually a good time. So we got people down there today. I'll be headed down there first thing in the morning. And we will continue to go through everything just with a fine tooth comb.
In my understanding, the second fail, if you will, are just small minor infractions. Nothing, like you said, you fixed them right then. Everybody's doing it. If you haven't been to the home traditions, any of them, as a matter of fact, go. It's a tremendous what the people do. It really is.
The staff has worked
Yes.
really hard. And when you start just nitpicking on stuff, when you got a 133,000 square foot home that's
Yes, sir.
brand new, everybody's been through that thing 100 times, and
Hopefully, it's just how it is, as you said. Third time's a charm. We do that.
it's not going to be because we will all not be down there, from me down to
Yes.
the other homes are sending their experts down. And that's just the way we work. You may go in a home and see me cleaning the toilet because they're short housekeeping people. I don't mind doing that, and nobody here, Miss Watts, our CFO, we all.
Our job is what needs to be done,
Right.
and it's great to have that attitude. I
Take
commend
care of
it with
veterans.
everyone. Yes.
We do.
Yes. Thank y'all. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Tate?
I would just like to say that, I think Mark Smith's doing an excellent job, and, if they were going to be, some marks against him, there'd be marks against everybody that's
Yes,
in that position.
agreed.
I do want to, we talked about, vehicle cost, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware of something. So if you go to to one of these nursing homes, you'll notice that everybody basically is in a wheelchair. And so for transportation for our residents, you have to have ADA compliant, vans. And about 2 years ago, y'all purchased a van, that was ADA compliant to allow these wheelchairs to go in. And about how much did that cost y'all?
It's 132,000.
$132,000 for one vehicle. The Friends of Mississippi Veterans purchased the exact same vehicle, exact same year, for how much?
70,000.
For $70,000. And why is that? Why did it cost y'all more?
We were having to go through the reverse auction process.
Just want that to be on the record.
And to give kudos to Friends of Mississippi Veterans, Mr. Jack Winstead and his organization, they have just ordered the fifth van for us, which totals, it saved the state about $400,000, kept us from buying them. Really that's at his cost. If we were having to buy them, Ms. Watson and I looked the other day, we have a bus issue in Kosciuszko we're working on. The new buses are $169,000, and that's on state contract. It was worked out to where we could use a state contract from IHL, is that right? IHL. But you won't have to go through the reverse auction process, but the $169,000 a pop is kind of devastating to us.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? I know we've run out of time. I just want to make a couple comments. The last year I've spent an enormous amount of time going around touring our physical assets in public property. And for you guys to be where you are, I want to commend you for it. We've got a lot of areas in our state that are ticking time bombs. It's glad to see that this isn't one of them. So to be able to do that is a testament to it. A lot of times, you don't see it, so you don't think about it. Y'all thought about it, so I appreciate that. And I do want to commend you and your entire staff on the way that y'all deal with everything. And we're very appreciative. So thank you. Thank y'all for being here.
Support.
Y'all have a great day.
Y'all have made all that possible. Thank you very much.
8:45, so.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, I'll get you, or I guess we have 30 minutes. Wait.
Yeah, we're good.
Morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ojon and staff. Haven't seen y'all in a while. Good to see you. Welcome to the subcommittee meeting. We've got a couple of senators that have joined us. Thank you guys for being here. Somebody double booked this meeting with another event, so I'll take the blame for you guys not being here on time. So, but thank y'all. I'm just going to turn it over to y'all to kind of go through and dissect the budget.
Dr. Craig Ogeron, Executive Director of ITS. I have with me Holly Sauvignon, our Chief Admin Officer, and Stephanie Hedpech, our Chief of Strategy. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to dive in and kind of approach this from a strategic initiatives perspective. There are budget tie-ins, and then, as always, more than happy to answer any questions the committee may have about ITS in general, if there's any concerns, but where I think we're heading. So, as was the case last year, we had really amazing support by the legislature to get some initiatives like cloud computing and artificial intelligence moving. So our 5 initiatives this year are 3 in essence are carryovers and combinations from last year, from basically what the legislature directed us to do. And there are 2 net new. The 2 net news really focus on cybersecurity, which is a preeminent topic of our time today, as well as shared services in government. And I'll dive deeper into those. So from a cloud perspective, the legislature last year in House Bill 1491 passed a Cloud Center of Excellence and directed ITS to establish it. We've done several things during the course of the year. The first was last summer, ITS runs a private cloud. So that is a cloud in the state data center off Ridgewood Road. There are 33 agencies that use that. And all that really means is that infrastructure is in a state facility as the crow flies 2 or 3 or 4 miles that way. We worked with a company called Slalom, and we said, if we were to move these services from these 33 agencies to the public cloud, AWS, Microsoft, or something similar, what is that going to cost? We did that engagement and came up with a number, and that number was $8.3 million to make this migration. One-time cost to move folks to optimize what it is they're doing with our partners like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, and Google Cloud. We took that data and we turned it over to Elbow and said, we think this is what is needed, that agencies would need to do that. The second thing we did, we have an engagement with EY, and EY is attempting to help ITS set up this Cloud Center of Excellence. So ITS, as a central IT organization, can help agencies to get to the cloud, this new computing paradigm. When we met with Elbow in December, what had sort of dawned on us was, as you might expect, there's a lot of confusion and potential consternation. How do I get to the cloud? How do I train my staff to get to the cloud? And so ITS did a bit of a pivot and said, instead of divvying up that 8.2 to 3 million, we think it should come to ITS. That is not self-serving. I hope it doesn't sound that way. What we want to do is partner, because the private cloud is at ITS with the public cloud providers, right? So AWS is a great example, right? So there's data centers that they're building in the state of Mississippi, new announcements they've made about data centers in the state of Mississippi. Also, the private, the companies that offer these services have said that they are going to match in some cases 3-1. So a potential $8 million appropriation for ITS to help agencies could be upwards of, at least with one cloud provider, 25 additional $1 million. Here's what I think that means for us to do this. The Cloud Center of Excellence bill directed ITS to work with agencies to make that move. The work we've done in the last year with what you've given us is we're back here saying we've talked to the public cloud providers and we think that some of these moves would be almost at no cost to agencies for up to 2 years. That means a cloud assessment, a cloud migration, and cloud training at no cost to get our agencies moved to the platform that they need. Our request is to both update you on what we are doing with the Cloud Center of Excellence and put that in front of the committee for consideration to be able to do that. I have full expectation that Microsoft and Google will follow suit as partners. And what I think that means is that it will make nearly nominal any cost to agencies to be able to do this. There is a lot of anxiety around skills. Do I have the right skills in the cloud era? These aren't incremental changes. These are sort of leaps in technology, in cloud, in artificial intelligence, and having the ability to get the training that's needed is really critical for agencies to fulfill their mission. ITS's mission is to help agencies fulfill their mission, and that's what we're attempting to do. So on artificial intelligence, it's also been a very busy year. When I came back into this role after having done it for about a decade, we worked with the governor's office to get Executive Order 1584 executed, that the governor put in place. Out of that executive order came several really great pieces of work that the ITS team did. One was a survey of how our agencies are using artificial intelligence, which has been published. One of the things I'm most proud of is an acceptable use policy of what we should be doing from an acceptable use perspective to use this technology. The acceptable use policy is also imbued with core principles about transparency, principles about how to really think about data privacy as our agencies begin to use AI, which they will. This is a generational technology that's going to change the way we do government. In addition, the legislature had Senate Bill 2426, which is focused on a regulatory aspect. The task force met yesterday. ITS has, in conjunction with the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network and AWS, stood up a first ever artificial intelligence innovation hub where we are collecting use cases and working with agencies to develop use cases to make government better. To that point, the legislature last year also implemented an innovation fund, a heretofore never existed fund for us to nudge some of these technologies forward. So in addition to working with agencies to collect use cases, Secretary of State Michael Watson has a use case, Mississippi State has put forward a use case. We're asking for $1 million to be put into the innovation fund to seed that work. I think that in doing those use cases with agencies and using some of this nudge money to get them there, that we need to greatly pay attention to key performance indicators. How is it making government better? If we don't measure it, we have no idea what these impacts are. That is the idea on our second strategic initiative. Our third initiative, of course, is something you may hear a lot about, which is public procurement in technology. I will tell you that there is nothing easy about doing public procurement the right way, that is fast, that gets folks what they want to do. We've had a pretty amazing year with the support of the legislature. So when I came back into the job, I did a listening tour. I met with the top 30 agencies. So the top 30 agencies in Mississippi spend 99% of the total IT budget, which tops out at about a little under $400 million. And I heard from these agency heads and directors, and we put in place a procurement modernization advisory council where we, in collaboration with these 30 entities, sat down for 9 straight months and said, tell us how you want ITS to help you do better. We got that data in October, November, and we are implementing those changes. So I hope we have moved the needle on that front. With respect to our request, in addition to the implementation last session of House Bill 958 that helped us modernize procurement, very grateful for the legislature for that. We're asking for 1.2 million for ITS to invest internally to make our internal systems better when it comes to procurement. We already have in front of us an idea to use artificial intelligence to develop a bot that will help agencies get through their procurements better. We're calling our bot Madam Procuri. You know, you got to come up with something somewhat creative to do that. So I think we're both leaning into the functional changes with public procurement, but we're also leaning into eating our dog food, as the phrase goes, right? Using technology inside of ITS to make us better. That's number 3. The 2 others are, those 3 are combinations and sort of the impetus that the legislature gave us last session. 2 others. The first I'll talk about is I'm going to talk about shared services first. We have draft legislation that we have shared with the House and Senate about this is the question it ponders. In a federated state, right, we don't have an omnibus technology budget. Each agency receives individual funding. How can I, in the role that I have as the executive director of technology, sit in front of the legislature and say we are making the best and smartest decisions to optimize those appropriations? We have legislation for you to consider this session that brings people to the table and sort of takes the next step in sharing. It takes the next step in optimizing these services across all of government. The initiatives that you've pushed us forward on, cloud and AI, do that. We're kind of getting to those sort of present at the creation. We're doing those out of the gate. There is a whole lot of legacy solutions and systems. So that is our 4th initiatives, which is really about the optimization of shared services across government. And we would like nothing more than to be able to do a whole lot more with less and deliver great government for Mississippi citizens. The last initiative is cybersecurity. It didn't fully make my list last year because I think we had some catching up to do and some momentum to gain, moving procurement, which I know there were a lot of complaints about. But cybersecurity is one of the top issues of our time. So I belong to the National Association of State CIOs, and it has been the top issue out of 10 for 12 years running. This was the first year that artificial intelligence took its place. So it is something that all 49 other states grapple with. What we have in your packet is an idea to begin to mature even further cybersecurity in state government. And it is an idea to acknowledge the need for a security operations center. In 2017, I was in this role before, and we were able to pass with legislative support the first enterprise security program in the state of Mississippi. And now, of course, you know, you blink twice and 6 or 7 years or 8 years go by. I think it's time to consider the next step. How do we make cybersecurity a much more mature and robust, and we reduce risk in state government? And so there's legislation to do that. With that, Mr. Chairman, that is sort of our initiatives. If there are any other deep dives specific to the budget, personnel asks, or any other issue, I'd be happy to field those questions.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation. Before I ask for questions, I've got just a couple I want to go through, just a little bit of clarification on stuff. The first one's about the $8.3 million for the cloud migration. As I understand it, simply put, if we take that money and we park it at ITS, you'll be able to go forward with moving agencies that are not, that pretty much may be on legacy systems into the cloud. You'll
Yes.
be able to do it in a uniform way, short of taking the $8 million and spreading it across the agencies where you may get the agency doing it different ways. Seemingly that would be a more efficient way to do it. On the other side of this, would we expect savings on these legacy systems? I know that, you know, we'll see asks from agencies for a new mainframe or something. That should, if not go away, all but go away. Is that correct?
It's correct. I think one of the key things is when you move to the cloud, there's no pixie dust there. This is work, right? It is a different computing platform. What this does, because ITS runs the private cloud and the relationships that we have with these public cloud providers, when agencies make that move, we want to optimize what it is they're doing in the cloud. You cannot just put something in the cloud and expect it to run more effectively.
Sounds to me like if we house it at ITS and we do it, we begin with an enterprise level pricing instead of an individualistic pricing. Am I right in that
Well,
assumption? So
those relationships exist already. And I actually asked the question before my budget hearings this week, if I could talk about this. So the match dollars are real. That's not subjective or a guess. I've been told that there's going to be a $25 million match. So I think it's really critical. This is really about modernizing. It's really about, as difficult it is for everyone, it's certainly difficult for ITS because I stare out the window every day at a 14,000 square foot tier 3 plus data center. The world's a different place in 2026. And we very much want to work with our partners to be able to get there. The other idea is that despite the fact that no one would really argue that cloud is new, I would argue that in Mississippi, it is new. The vast majority of systems are premise-based, right? So it's either infrastructure living in the state data center or infrastructure living at agencies. Over time, all of that in one form or another will land in cloud. And we really want to get this stream started and move in the right direction.
and I think we did legislation that makes it a priority to transform into the cloud. So yeah, it's become a priority where maybe it wasn't the priority in the past.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next thing, shared services. Glad you mentioned that. We had a previous budget conversation just a few minutes ago about data match software. We had a $130,000 request to use it to be able to allow the Treasury Department to be more efficient in putting out unclaimed money. And the question was asked by the chairman, can we take this and use this across agencies? Am I right in assuming that there's a situation there with, as you move forward with your shared service initiative, we'll be able to see where we can leverage that data match money we may give to one department or one agency rather, that we can use it across state government? Because that, he has a great use, and don't get me wrong, I hope we end up doing that for them, but we might be able to use that across 10 agencies. The shared services model that we're talking about will allow us to see those opportunities and take advantage of them. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes. Yes, I mean, so there's a classic and legacy kind of concept here, right? So the classic legacy concept is networking, telecommunications, the things that sort of get shared now. Cloud and AI are already on a good path. This idea of legislation to shore that up means we literally get around the table, like I did in the last year with procurement modernization, and stare straight at people and pose those exact questions, right? And what we would love to do is, and this could be part of the legislation, maybe we create a report that we would come back to the legislature and say, here's where this year we think the top 3 things or 5 things are. I'm going to say this with all deference and respect. I don't really believe much in snowflakes. I think we ought to be able to share a whole lot more than we do. I use the cloud as a great example of that, right? Amazon and Google and Microsoft are the companies they are because a whole lot of folks use what they offer. Okay. If these companies can serve the Fortune 100 and the Fortune 500, there's no reason why they can't serve government more collectively.
I think we collectively as agencies, like, there's $132,000 spend that has a singular purpose to me that's justifiable, but we might be able to take that and share it across agencies and not have duplicity. We may be spending that thing in 3 different agencies. So again, this seems to push us in the direction to where we want that 400 million, where there's some degree of duplicity, will reduce that number.
Well, I mean, the goal would be to reduce it and to actually, on the other side, get better at what it is that we do.
One last question I'll turn it over. The $1 million for the AI that we're talking about, this is kind of seed money to kind of go. We set it up last year to move it forward. Do you suspect we'll have opportunities for there be just match money that may come into that over time?
I do.
Okay, so we might have some leveraging opportunities.
So different states from my career, different states handle innovation funds differently. So with the legislature support last year, I think our approach with ITS this year is we wanted to be super focused. AI is this thing that could change the world, it could change government. We really wanted to both stand up the hub, right, where things happen. This isn't imaginary, but work with agencies, develop use cases. We have active, fully built out use cases already in hand. This is not something we have to go
Yes.
do. So these dollars, and I also want to really reemphasize, you can't move what you can't measure. I think we have to measure the impact that these solutions make. Those trends really coming back in front of this body with that data is wildly important.
I think it's very important to have an ROI, quantitatively, obviously, if we can, but the qualitative aspect's another thing that plays into it. Efficiency of government, the one-door policy, all the things that we're trying to do and implement to make the experience for our citizens and the people that interact with government better. So the better we can quantify that, like I say, qualitatively and the dollars, I think helps us and look at the appropriations process. Thank you. Do we have questions by any of the members? Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we're short on time, but that's a lot to digest. And I really, I have a bunch of questions, but I think just in the interest of time, maybe we can have another meeting,
Yes, sir.
either in my office or
Yes, sir.
someplace, because I do want you to be thinking about how do we get our agencies, because I've dealt with this like you have for a long time, and some don't want that. They've got their system, they like their system, they want to do what they're going to do, and they're afraid, I think, to
Yes, sir.
get into a shared services type arrangement, and also afraid of losing control, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I need to dig a little deeper with you on that, because it is a big deal, and as the chairman pointed out, we're piecemealing, spending money on different things, and have been for a long time, and just need to get to a place where we're more efficient, but also that the agency directors know what they're doing within their agencies, and don't have to totally rely on somebody else outside. And in addition, I want to get into the AI stuff a bit more. Cyber security, that's of course a big issue, but we'll have to arrange for another meeting, because there's
Yes,
a lot of stuff to
Happy to
discuss here.
continue.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About how much are you all spending on training?
On training for AI.
Yes.
So let me throw a shout out when I do that. So the state of Mississippi is extraordinarily lucky. There were two consortia focused on AI. The AI Collaborative in Mississippi that Dr. Ashley Cephas, a Mississippi State undergrad graduate, runs, and the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network. Both of those entities are very much focused on pipeline and training. And so it was so refreshing in coming back to this job, that those entities are out there. So the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network is run out of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Dr. Colin Napier is their director. And so in reality, we're really bringing a lot of folks together very, very regularly for training. And to be candid, the vendor community is very excited to get in front of folks to do that. So I would suggest to you that it's nominal. Any dollar expenditure specifically on training is nominal, but I've been thrilled with that in the last 18 months. Yeah, sure.
Any other? Thank you. One last question on the $8 million and $1 million respectively. Are those one-time asks, or do you think they'll be recurring, or there'll be other charges?
So in my House hearing on Monday, I was asked if we could split that up over 2 years. Absolutely, yes. And yes, it's one time. It's meant to be, once that migration happens, those agencies are in the cloud, and you sort of go from basically a CapEx to an OpEx, because it's utilization based, one time only.
Thank y'all. As Chairman said, a lot of information from information technology. Thank y'all. Have a great day. Good morning, y'all. Chairman's not doing a good job of keeping us on time, so we'll go ahead and try to get started if y'all can. I'm doing great. How are you? Good, good, good. How are you, man? Good to see you. Appreciate y'all being here. I'll let you go. It's all yours. Please, yes.
Work better.
Sure, we've got thousands of people watching us this morning.
Oh, I hope not. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank y'all for allowing us to come present the Wireless Communication Commission's budget this morning for 27. I have with me our chairman, Mandy Davis from DPS, have Deputy Director Michelle Denham, and then the System Administrator, Dent Gwines. So if we get to difficult questions, I'll just turn it over to them.
All right.
Okay, you have several handouts, and we'll start with the first page. And this is just the typical one I usually bring that's got what we requested, what Elbow recommended, and then what we're re-requesting, or the difference, and then our final request for the fiscal year. So I'll start in salaries. Elbow recommended a reduction of one position, moving the WCC from 9 and then moving us from 9 to 8 positions, which was a reduction of 57,000, and I'm asking for full funding. We did get cut last year. We're just a small commission. We need everybody we have. So I would ask that y'all would restore that to us and 189 $895,141. So in travel, we're asking that Elbow's recommendation be accepted, 10,000. That's plenty of money for us. In contractual services, Elbow recommended a $96,000 reduction, and we're asking for that full funding for contractual services. 90% of our budget goes for the support of the MissWin system. And so we don't have extra money sitting around. We have 161 communication sites. 2 were completed last year. The full system has 186 sites, but you have certain counties that have their own sites. We have tower leases with 3 different companies. So we also have the cost for those tower leases is $5.86 million. We do have increases every 5 years on those. We own 88 towers, and mostly in the northern part of the state. And those northern ones, we have land leases on those, and those land leases run about $481,000 a year. Our system environmental maintenance is $3.2 million. Now that has been at that price for almost 16 years. So we have kept it low. It is going to go up. I want to explain that a little bit more in depth a little bit later in the presentation. But as you know, we have hardened sites. We have generators. We have HVAC. We have everything that supports that system in an emergency situation. The contract again with Motorola will expire June 30th of 2027. That contract has been in place since the inception. And so again, the cost that we've been given are going to go up. Utilities, our electricity to all these sites is about $880,000 because we do have electricity at all of those sites. Repairs, we're asking for $100K on that, which is to repair equipment that is not covered under the other contract. IT contractors, if you remember, we reduced this. We're asking for $150. We reduced it from $300,000 in previous years. And then administrative cost, $134. That's for just our basic admin costs that we have. In commodities, we're asking for Elbow's recommendation to be accepted. The majority of that is for propane. We have at all of our sites, we have 1,000-gallon propane tanks. We keep those full. We keep those ready. Should we have any kind of emergency, those are ready to go. So if you're up in the northern part of the state, have an ice storm, you don't know how long those are going to run. And to get a propane company in there to fill up is a little difficult. So we keep those full. So that's where the majority of commodity money goes. In capital, we're asking for restoration. We had asked for 250,000. So we're asking that that be reinstated to us, but I also have additional requests on top of that, that you'll see at the bottom here. So we're not asking for any vehicles. We have older vehicles, but they still run, so we're still running them. And we don't need any subsidies, loans, and grants at this time. So, but if you'll refer, I want to, before I go any further, to call your attention to the second page that you have in your handout. It's a legal size sheet. And I wanted to go over a few things with you on this. We talk about our aging equipment. And as you know, we have over 150 generators. We have over 300 HVAC systems at these sites. We have 161 UPSs, DC chargers, lighting systems. We have antennas, coax cable. We have all of this stuff that is on each one of those sites. And they're aging. Some of these sites were built in 2009. So some of them are reaching right at 17 years. So now generator, you got about 20 to 25 years is how long those will last. And we've taken good care of these. We run them every Monday. We make sure that they're repaired. We do all of the preventive maintenance on them, but they have age, especially those down near the coast. That was zone 1 when we built those out. So what I want to say to you is that I would like for us to have a plan on a replacement of that infrastructure. And so I am asking for an additional appropriation of 2.5 million for this year, starting this year for 10 years. The reason for that is to start replacing the equipment that is aging. That we don't want to be like Jackson Water, where the infrastructure was not taken care of. This is important. You have 68,000 users or subscribers on this system. We don't want your police in wherever county, wherever city to not be able to.
You may be fixing to get here, but if I'm reading this right, you're looking for a $1 million annual general fund reappropriation,
Yes.
and 1.5 off revenues off of rent
Right.
power lease at the moment.
Yes, yes. If you look up to the right, we generate 1.5 million. And so it's used to be special funds, but we don't have special funds anymore. So a different appropriation, if you can appropriate that 1.5 back to us and then add $1 million to it, 2.5.
That money currently is going to the general fund.
Yes, it goes straight to the general
That's
fund. We don't
gotcha.
get that. So, it's difficult to get that back.
Chairman has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I got to run in a second, but I just wanted to ask this question. We just finished with ITS a minute ago, and it just got my interest peaked on, are there any new technologies? I mean, I understand the challenges you have at trying to maintain the equipment and making sure that we got a good communication system available for especially emergencies, if nothing else. Are there any technologies that look like they may be coming down the pike that would help save a lot of money? Is there something, this satellite-based Starlink, anything that
Starlink's great.
that would allow us to not spend so much on the equipment that's dependable, that we could utilize to save money? Because I can see, I know you've got some significant CapEx cost in your agency.
We do. I don't know that I've thought about Starlink taking the place of any of this, because you use that, what we're talking about, like the environmentals, that is keeping the system running. And so, but there are technical changes or technology changes, but the money goes up. Starlink though, Starlink is a great thing to utilize. And that's what you'd want to utilize if we had a real emergency. We actually have one that we utilize now, or we have to utilize. I will say that there is some technology, just like we use a UPS. They have and we run a AC and DC power at these sites. You can buy something that's called, I forget the name of it. We have one, and it will run AC DC. So you eliminate all those 12 batteries. We have like 12 car batteries at a site that runs the microwave or backup for the microwave. And then we have the UPSs that run the other side. You can get this one thing, what's it called? ZPM. And so you get that ZPM and it runs both. And it's a little bit of a savings, but not a big.
Yeah, I'm just looking for technologies, and I think we all are, to try to help you and make sure you can provide the service that you're providing, but also keep costs down, because I have a feeling that one day, maybe long after any of us are here, but this is going to be a system where you don't need you don't have all these maintenance costs to be able to provide that service. And
Let
we just finished in technology, talking about new ways of getting things done. And sometimes they cost a little money. I'd rather pay a little bit more upfront to save money long run
yes.
if we needed to. But that's the kind of
Well,
stuff that I
let me give you one other
want to dig in.
idea here. And it's one that I've toyed with, but haven't gone too far with it. One of our vendor has a radio that roams from LMR to LTE to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So if our tower, if they're out of range from our tower, cellular will pick it up.
Okay.
So you can talk anywhere in the US, out of the country on our system.
Okay.
That radio costs around $8,000. Now, the problem I have with that technology then reduces the number of towers you need. So if you have that radio on a 98% of the year, you can use that radio all the time. But what I am concerned about is cellular goes down. And when your cellular goes down, if you don't have the LMR tower, the radio doesn't work. But if you could somehow work it out where you had those radios, so 98% of the time you're going to work. But if that hurricane hits, it may not work. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I just think that we
You
need to
savings.
continue. There may be a way to make it work 100% of the time, and that's
Yes.
what we're looking for. But
Right.
thanks, Ron. I've got to run. To
Oh,
the
sorry.
meeting. Look, that's what I wanted to, and I'm sure the chairman will dig into that a little bit deeper with you.
Just
Because I think that's important.
important.
Yep, great. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can go on to
Yes,
the
yes.
system
Couple
maintenance.
minutes.
This is the big upgrade that we're looking at. Motorola is changing the platform. 2032, they are not going to support the current G series platform that we have. They're moving to a D series. And that D series is going to cost money. As I said, they will not support what we currently have past 2032. Now, the entire US or anybody who has our system, they're in the same situation. So I think other states are waiting to see what we're going to do, Louisiana, Arkansas. So I don't know if they'll push that year out. They've already pushed it out 2 years. Maybe they'll push it out a little bit more. So I hope they do. But if they don't, we need to go ahead and get prepared for that, because to change all 161 of our sites plus the other sites that make up the whole 186 system is going to take.
If you don't mind, for the sake of brevity, let me just ask a few questions. What's the total cost to do the upgrade?
What they call a bundled budgetary price, they're looking at 152 million.
Okay, so what's going to be the ask over a period of time?
So what I'm asking for now, because we have not negotiated on it, I'm expecting that that number will come down. So my ask over 10-year period would be $12.2 million.
So you anticipate knocking 30 million out of that initial? I hope we do more, because I know we've been able to do that.
I can pretty much think that we're going to be able to knock that out.
What is our annual maintenance of Motorola now?
3.2.
I'm seeing 10 million on here now.
Yes, you are.
Is that the number that?
We don't like it. We don't like it. Sir? Yeah, I do not like it. What we will do, I will tell you this, is that there's certain things that we can, that we pay for now, that we pay them for. What we need them for is the RF microwave.
Right.
There are
I
other.
understand. I know that we'll bet that as we go forward, and we'll work through this. This is a need that's out there, and as we've discussed, we need to have it out there in front of us. I know that we'll try to be diligent to work this number down, and to speak a moment to, I think what Senator Hobson was addressing is, obviously today, who has a landline in their home? We grew up with one. That's a technology that has sunsetted, and I think where Senator Hobson was going, Chairman Hobson was going, was, we might be going off satellites in 10 years. It might be what we do, and we don't need towers. So I'm going to assume, I know that we and you guys are always diligent at looking at those emerging technologies, and it comes down to the level of uptime that we want. Is it 98 or is it 99 with 4 nines? That's typically what we go for, 99.9999. And all we got to do is put ourselves here August the 30th, 2005. We need a system that's going to be there then. So I think we'll be diligent about that, but always look for the emerging technologies, and some of these are not mature yet. But as we look at potentially $115 million expense, I think we all need to be diligent as we investigate technologies that will allow us to retain that uptime, which I think is number one, with keeping that at a minimal cost. So thank you.
And that's what we look at from, when we talk about our 68,000 subscribers.
Yes.
We're their lifeline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's, and I encourage anyone who has an opportunity to go to this one's meetings. I've been on that board since I've been here just about, and they've made most of the meetings, so it's very good. It's a really board. But the testimonies of where this communication system's the essential necessity of it in our state, you don't have to go to but one meeting and you'll know that. So thank y'all. Yes, so we'll have a few questions very quickly, please. Senator Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two quick questions on your budgetary deal request. You get down there on the line, administrative services, including cell phones. Is that just for your staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have, the technical staff, I don't have one, I use my own personal one, but for technical staff, they have cell phones that they use.
Okay, thank you. And the other, as far as the bundling with Motorola, I have talked with other emergency first responder groups, and they tell me there's other suppliers out there other than Motorola. And under our statute, the way that each is supposed to be compatible with our system, but that don't tend to be true, does it?
No, sir, it's a P25 is what you're talking about. It's a national standard. And so Harris, other vendors sell a P25 system. But to connect our systems, you have to have what's called an interface. It's an interface, and it's not a permanent necessarily interface. So you run the risk of not being totally interoperable. So that's what we have right now is a top of the line system. And so we're coveted by other states. And so it's one of those things that Harris does sell a system. It's not as well used as the system, the Motorola system that we have. So, but it is supposed to be compliant, but you have to have an interface that connects the two.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Senator DeBoer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. The towers that you have, how many towers do you have?
That we own?
Do you own or lease them?
We own 88.
Okay.
We lease 66. I'll get my numbers
Okay.
not quite right. But we lease about 66. We have some co-locations, about 8 or 9. I have
Okay.
the numbers and just not looking down
Okay.
at them, but
Do you require maintenance on them on an annual basis
on the
or?
towers.
Yeah,
We have them looked at,
Okay.
and should we have an issue, towers can go for years. And so we have some that are guides, some that are self-support. So we do have those looked at. We do
Okay.
not have them on an annual
yeah.
maintenance.
Where I was going was that I know MPB has towers across the state. No, I know
Oh,
last few years we've been upgrading those. I didn't know if it was feasible for y'all to share services with them or maybe MPB using some of your towers, to be honest with you. I don't know.
couple of theirs.
Okay,
And so we do check theirs, because we want to make sure that our towers have to meet a certain standard.
right.
And so we do make sure that those are okay. But we have been in conversation with MPB about their towers and to see, we've actually looked at some of theirs because we'd love to be, if we need a place to locate, that'd be
Mhm.
great. But we are not on an actual maintenance plan as
Okay.
of today.
Okay.
Tower.
Well, I know they weren't for a while and now we're trying to catch up with them. So maybe something you could share with them or think about that coming up.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate y'all being here. And this is one of those things, the uptime is so good that you don't think about this, it doesn't go down. I know compared to other states that, they do set the bar, and they've done a great job at staying on top of this through the years. So a lot of things we got to look at going forward. We got to get our pencils sharpened and figure out how to get the best value for the state. So thank y'all for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank y'all.
We're going to move right into the Secretary of State. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to get out of here.
They lost their knife.
Thank you, my friend, very much. All right. Mr. Secretary, thank you and your staff for being here. We're sorry again for being late. Try to keep on time, just a few minutes late, but the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our esteemed colleagues that are here with us. I'm going to hit a couple of high-level things here. I know you're busy, and just a few things that I wanted to highlight, brag on the agency a little bit, just to let you guys know what's going on with it, and the efforts that we're making, obviously, to run a lean organization, but an effective organization at the same time. As y'all know, the first year we were here, we cut our rental expenses. We had private space in Gulfport. We moved to a state-owned building down there. This year, probably March, April, we'll be moving over to the state-owned building, saving roughly $500,000 a year in lease expense. So that'll be a total of about 5.5 or 550,000 over the span of our time in office of savings we found when it comes to leases and moving to state-owned buildings. So I definitely want to highlight that. Another savings that we're about to experience, and this is one that's really exciting for us. And I'll kind of tell you background how we got there. Many of you are aware of the redistricting issues that we go through, obviously, in the legislature. There are times when that information that goes down to the local level isn't quite put into the maps correctly. And so we have seen some elections where one side of the street is in the district, the other side is not. But unfortunately, both sides of the street wind up in the wrong district. So what we have done is reached out, and this is using Have America Vote Act funds from the federal government to get the geospatial data where we now will be able to see these addresses and help the local level not make mistakes. One of the great things with that is in our agreement, when we purchased this data, we were allowed to share it with other governmental entities. So we've already entered agreements with, or have sent agreements over to Peer, Maris, and MEMA. So they're going to be using the same data that we were able to purchase with federal dollars for the state at state use. And it's going to save a lot of money down the road. But those are the first three. There are more that are coming that we'll be able to share this data with. I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we're saving money on. Elections, as y'all well know, it's been a big topic the last 6 years. One of the things that we've done recently, and I think this is important for y'all to know for your constituents, federal maintenance is back in the news, as y'all have seen in Oregon and a couple of other states, some stories that are coming out now. One of the things that we did very aggressively, we partnered with some commercial partners and have found the one that we like the most, that saves the most money, but is also the most accurate. So we're getting that data in, and our voter rolls will be, if not one of the most clean states in the country after this happens. So I think that's important for y'all to know if your constituents are asking questions about our voter rolls. I just wanted to highlight that. Another thing that we launched is called Text My Gov. As y'all have heard me talk about, election integrity is super important, and it's not something that just we do at the state level, but we're trying to educate our voters. And so this is a new system that will give them information for elections that are coming up, because one of the things we hear a lot from our circuit clerks and commissioners is people just don't know when elections are. So this is a new text tool that's going to send messages out when elections are coming up, when you need to be registered to vote, et cetera. But the thing I'm most impressed with, and I think is really more important, when folks are in precincts or when they're around election, meetings, et cetera, they can send information straight to the Secretary of State's office of things that they're seeing that may look as something suspicious. I want to make sure the Secretary of State's aware of this. So it's a two-way text that they can now report to us as well. I think that's really important. Moving forward, again, election integrity has been the focus of ours. We also talked to y'all, and you were gracious enough to allow us to do post-election audits. We're up to close to 30 counties now, so we'll have all 82 done by 2027. This has been a fantastic piece of legislation that y'all passed, and one of the biggest things that we're seeing is, there are 82 counties, 82 clerks, 14 commissioners. Sometimes somebody may read a statute a little bit differently than somebody else in a different county, and so one of the best things about this is going into these counties and be able to say, read it like that, but that's not what the law intends. This is actually how this is supposed to work. So I think we're getting a level playing field, and that's going to be just an added bonus from those post-election audits. We had our NAS conference this year on the coast. We had about 30 secretaries from around the country come in. Again, just getting a chance to show off Mississippi. We also, and this is just a little bragging, but we won our second out of the last 3 years Ideals Award, which is voted on by all the secretaries of the most, I guess let's say coolest idea that the Secretary of State's office has done.
for a new program. We won this year's on the ambassador program that many of you have heard about and have recommended students to us. So we continue to do the really good things that are being noticed across the country. And then lastly, just a couple of pointed out budget requests. I know that's the big important thing here. On the salaries, we just want to basically restore what LBR cut and the headcount as well with level funding from last year, so no increase. The relations, and we've talked about this a couple of times, 3.97 million that we asked for our new technology, and that's across the board. That's campaign finances, business services, you name it. If it touches the internet, as far as the system concerns with our constituency, it's coming through this new system. So we had a little bit of a delay in our original request. The procurement process was a little bit drawn out from some friends of ours in another agency, which increased the price just a touch, but we were able to find some other savings in other areas. That said, we've got about 2.2 million left to finish building out the system and then the implementation piece. So we're going to ask for a reappropriation of the last year's dollars that we haven't spent yet, just to continue on that 3.97 number. The second piece of that is once we finish all the build out, all the implementation, as y'all are well aware, everything moving to the cloud now, there are new expenses when you're dealing with these new systems. So there'll be a 1.7 million recurring expense for the new system on the back end once we get it built out. Now, we've never had to pay that, and I think it's important for y'all to know kind of the background. The last system that we had some issues getting it built and implemented. So we had to sue the company that was building it. In the process of settling the lawsuit, we were able to get the code for the entire system. So we've not had the expense to upgrade and maintain that we have now with the new system in the cloud. So that's why you're seeing an additional, I think it's 1.73 total number moving forward to service this new system. And that's something that if you're a securities broker, if you're an LLC owner, if you're whatever you are, and you're interacting with the state, that's coming through that new system. So this is something that's going to be faster processing, cleaner. Taxpayers are getting a benefit for their dollars here, and it's something that's going to be good for the long run. Third, the election support fund, as y'all are well aware, when outside companies come in, LLCs, foreign LLCs, they pay $250 to register with our state. We've seen exponential growth in that. And when you talk about Mississippi's doing great when bringing other businesses in, it's not just a talking point. We're actually seeing those dollars add up in this fund. So last year, I think we were roughly 6 million-ish, somewhere in that number. So when we asked for the appropriations and the authority, we pegged that number to what we thought the average was going to be. Well, thankfully, for Mississippi, that number continues to grow. So there are some trapped funds in there. So we're going to ask you guys for the additional authority to catch up with the growth that we're seeing in the CSF. And for those who are unaware, these funds go back to the county level to help counties purchase election equipment, do some training things, cybersecurity, et cetera. So really good dollars for our counties, and we want to make sure that they're protected for them. And then titles, similar situation with that, as y'all are familiar with. It's roughly $11 to $12 million a year. Typically, we're bringing in through leases. Last year, based on some things that happened in the legislature, the projects were not funded. So we were given roughly just north of 6 million that goes into DMR, which they use for operational and to match federal funds, et cetera. What did not happen was the additional about 6 million that goes to projects that you guys appropriate dollars to for projects along the coast. So unfortunately, that's trapped again. So this year you will see that number increase based on, we think it'd be again about a 12 million plus the money that was left last year that was trapped because no projects were awarded. So that number will go up. So I don't want y'all to think, oh my gosh, what are they doing over there? We're trying to capture this money that's already in the system that we can't spend because we don't have the authority. So we're not increasing our budget. We're just asking in those two separate ones, we need more authority to spend the money that's already in the account. So just wanted to be clear on that. Those are the things that may stick out to you when you see the budget numbers. So that's my presentation. Happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Mr. Secretary, Senator Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, with the titlings, is there a lawsuit with Biloxi?
So there's still a couple of lawsuits out there. And as you well know, it's They're based on some gray areas that we've asked the legislature to clean up. We've got another bill this year that we're hoping will get done to put this issue to rest. There are a couple of licenses that have been granted that historically probably would not have been granted because of this gray area. So long answer to a short question. Yes, sir, there are still a couple of lawsuits.
Over the past 5 to 10 years, what does the state have had to pay as far as representing the state's interest with just the city of Biloxi? Do you have a figure?
I don't. I can get you that number. I mean, it's significant. So the taxpayers have paid lawyers a whole lot of money for this, and on the flip side, so have the lawsuit initiators, and that's hurting their taxpayers
Right.
as well. So, this is one of those issues, and I'll be quite frank, I don't mind sharing this. I sat down with the mayor of Biloxi about 3 weeks ago, and the new city administrator and the city attorney. And it sounded like there was some room to move forward together in a direction. So I'm hopeful that we can put an end to this. That said, there are still some pending lawsuits, so I don't want to, blow smoke.
Of a different matter.
Correct. Well, they're Thailand's, but
Yeah.
it's different plaintiffs, not the city. The city does like to get involved. But that said, I do think we're going to be able to iron this thing out and hopefully put this to bed, maybe this session.
Secretary.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Senator Jim, I believe Senator Tate has a question or two.
I'm just going to brag. So in 2019, in Lauderdale County, we had 44 to 45,000 active voters on our voter list, and you can't just purge a voter just because you have a hunch. You have to have the main tool that we have is a return piece of government mail. Anyway, about 3 weeks ago, I saw we had 38,000. So it went from 44 to 38. And I said to my clerk, I said, we're at 38,000. What happened? It's them Watson postcards. He said, we've been working them. So they sent out postcards to every registered voter. They came back to the courthouse, and then they were able to, if you have good clerks, election commissioners, they work those cards. And so good job on that as far as touching on clean voter rolls.
Thank you. Now, I will tell you, that's another thing that we've been able to save money on. The initial push that we did with that was also federal dollars. And so the state did not have to spend those dollars. And basically what you can do is educate voters on the elections, et cetera, the process. So we sent the entire voter roll out, and we got a lot of mad commissioners and clerks because of the work that it. Well, the second thing is we've done a couple of things lately. One, we partnered with different states now, MOUs between states. Alabama was the first, and I think many of y'all may have heard this, but we had literally 7,000 registered voters that were both registered in Alabama and Mississippi. And so worst case scenario, let's say all 7,000 live in Alabama. That means there's 7,000 names on voter rolls in Mississippi that don't live here. That's where you get the mischief. So we've done that probably with 7 or 8 states now. Alabama was the first, and they'll continue to work through that. And then the second thing that I mentioned to you guys on the private side, the commercial data, I think we sent roughly 300,000 just south of that names to clerks across the state with the commissioners to do those. So you're seeing a drastic increase in the activity of cleaning voter rolls. That said, what's missed on the back end, a lot of folks don't really focus on this, but we've helped to register roughly 400,000 voters since my time in office. So it's not just let's clean the voter rolls. It's also still an active, how do you get folks out there that don't know the process, that don't know how to register to vote? We go to high school football games. We go to community college football games. We go all over the place. So it's a two-way street. You hear a lot of times people talk about easy to vote, hard to cheat. And we mean that. We want to make it hard to cheat, but we also want to make it easy to vote. And sometimes that's the part that's missed. So when we're helping registered voters, and it's almost 400,000 in roughly 6 years, I think the office deserves a lot of credit.
That's fabulous. That's great that you've done that. It brings up a couple of questions to me as you saw those that were on both states, did you have communications with Alabama to make them aware? And what about other agencies? Like you could have had people taking Medicaid from both states. Is that communications going with agencies to try to clean up any other subsidies that might be tied into that?
Yes, sir. And I'll tell you, this is not bragging, but it's a pat on the agency's back. Early this year, we were asked to lead a group of secretaries of state to work with the White House. And so what we've done with that is taken these types of ideas where you've got MOUs between states where we're looking at different, if it's Medicaid, if it's some other state revenue source, or if it's federal. How do we identify these individuals who are both double registered? By the way, it's not a crime. It is a crime to vote in both places. So we're working on some things that we can help clean that up between states. But that said, when we're able to bring this information, that's hard data. It's not just making up stuff. Here's the hard data, and we can work with USCIS. We can work with, Homeland Security. We can work with these other agencies. You're seeing a massive effort, again, to make sure we've got clean voter rolls, but also to cut out fraud. And I think that's what you're seeing across the country right now, is we finally have people who are actively working on these issues, not just kind of turning the eye. So really proud of that. And that's one of the things that you're going to see more of between the states. So the 7,000, basically how that happens is we send the list to Alabama. They send to their clerks. We send the list to us. You can't just wipe these people off the voter roll. Right. You have to send them, as Senator Tate was talking about, a piece of mail and or other areas of work that we can do to get those returns. And if they don't send them back, then that's when you can start the process. But it's not just an easy get off the voter rolls. That's not how it happens.
Thank you. I believe Senator Seymour has another question.
Yes, dealing with our small corporations and small business, the yearly filing, is there any way you can send a notice out? I mean, you send them when they're delinquent, and that's been my biggest for small businesses that don't have an accountant on their payroll or visit them every month. And it comes around in the summer months when everybody is busy.
Right.
Is there any way we can send out a notice somewhat
Yes, sir.
electronically or?
On that, by the way, the numbers are roughly 2 million in Tidelands dollars that we've spent on lawsuits over the last
2
few
million.
years. Yes, sir. So it's a big dollar. On your question specifically there, yes, sir. We do a lot of social media work trying to educate our business community on when the dates are coming up to file. One of the things that we've looked at, and not throwing stones here, but we talked to DOR early on in, I guess, the 4 or 5 years ago, and basically said, look, why is there not just maybe some kind of checkbox we can put on the federal returns, state tax returns that says, I'm an LLC, this is my annual report, and you just transmit that data to me. That's one less thing they got on their plate. They're going to file their taxes, and it'd be real easy. Well, we were told our systems can't talk to your system. Come on, we can figure that out. So I want you to know it isn't just sending the notice out, but we're also looking at active ways how to take that burden off of them. Some folks have said, well, what if you do it every few years? There's some ideas out there. I do think it's important that we keep those clean. One of the things that we have seen, and y'all passed, I guess, last year or 2 years ago with the nonprofits, making sure that those aren't just flowing around out there because of the fraud that we have seen of late. Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
I'm not kind of lobbying, but not really lobbying. It's campaign finance report legislation that we've got with you guys. I want you to understand there are two very clean instances where this would have really helped. One in the Delta, where we saw the drug trafficking charges come through. They ran that money through campaign finance. The second one, again, was in Jackson. They ran their money through campaign finance. So if we can have, what we've tried to push is this electronic filing where it's one system where everybody has to file the same. It's much easier to track, it's cleaner, and it'd be much more helpful to law enforcement as well. So just a quick plug for that, and we'll talk more about that later.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, pleasure.
Thank you. I think in light of the progress you made on clearing up rules, you and your team are back. So thank y'all for the hard work and the diligence in trying to keep our rules as clean as they can be.
Yes, sir. Thank you much.
Nothing else? We're done. Thank you.
Oh.